Hey, Curtis.
Oh, Bill.
So we've been having a fun time getting this to record. Hopefully the 20th time is the charm.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for inviting us into your home. We were trying to do this in your studio, but something about the connection wasn't giving us the video part of it. So now we're in your home. I see a wonderful hat collection behind you.
Yeah, yeah.
And also a new painting that looks wonderful. What series is that from?
This is a new series. I've had a history of doing nocturnes,
Yeah.
but this is one called LA Nocturne,
Uh-huh.
and they're going to be numbered. And so this is, I think, number 4.
Oh, fantastic. Well,
Yes.
one of the things I love about your work, and I talk to people, especially if they're not really used to knowing how to look at artwork and particularly abstract paintings, your work is a great example because what I'll tell people is, you know, with a figurative painting, there's somewhat of a narrative or a story. And so it's like a song with words. And I say, but, you know, think of an abstract painting as like visual jazz, or it's a tone poem. And it's much more about the rhythm and the feeling and the mood that's created. And once they start to open up and learn how to look like that, it opens up a whole new way of seeing for them. And your paintings, I think, are such a perfect window to that. You have, very much a sense of jazz and poetry and lyricism and melody in your work. You have these very kind of atmospheric backgrounds with a lot of depth, and then these, little gestural figures that kind of float in this space. And those to me are like these kind of little melodies of color and gesture. And it speaks to, to me, this kind of romantic notion that you get from really good abstract painting. Do you listen to music when you're painting, or have a sense of poetry when you're painting?
I absolutely listen to music most of the time because I just, these days, I turn the news off. I used to listen to NPR nonstop.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I think much healthier to listen to music these days.
And I read out there and, do different activities to take my mind off the painting for a few minutes.
Uh-huh. What poets what inspire you?
Well, lately I've been reading W.H. Auden. Mm-hmm. And one thing I'm learning about him is that he was one of those sort of an old-fashioned poet who used the poetic form occasionally, using rhymes and using the stanzas, indentations, varying that. And I enjoy that. I enjoy the visual quality of the poems as much as I do the substance.
Yeah, you actually had a series of paintings at one point that had gestural references to the visual look of a haiku or a sonata.
Yeah, I did a number of those haikus. They have the 17 marks to stand in for the syllables in the haiku. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I've done some larger poems, some Shakespearean sonnets with 14 lines and the indentation at the end, the rhyme scheme. I love the visuals of that aspect of literature.
I did too, and what I loved was there was a visual, very, very surprising correspondence in the sense of rhythm to the visual that was so much on a par with the rhythm that you were used to hearing from listening to a poem. It had that same kind of visual cadence. In fact, I think we had one of them was the invitation for an exhibition we did, one of the sonatas.
That's right. That's right, yeah. And it's a theme that I revisit occasionally too. I just don't want to leave it behind.
Now, you grew up in Texas, is that right?
In West Texas,
huh?
Lubbock, Texas. Attended Texas Tech University as an undergraduate. It's where Cindy and I met. And then we moved to Wisconsin, Madison, where I went to graduate school. And spent 3 years there, and we moved around. I taught at Purdue for a couple of years in Indiana. Then we moved to Virginia, where I taught at Virginia Commonwealth University for 8 years. And then...
How did you end up in California?
Well, I was showing with a gallery in New York at the time, and she organized a show for me in Los Angeles. Mm-hmm. And I had never even been here. So Cindy and I came out for the opening, and we had such a good time. Had so much fun that we decided to just move there. So we went back to Virginia. And I resigned my position. I had just gotten tenure, and so I'm in a club of a small number of people of us who've done that. We loaded up our family and drove across the country, and that was in 1985.
Oh, amazing! That was a year before I moved down from San Francisco, and you ended up in Venice.
Yep,
amazing.
We found that studio in Venice within 2 weeks.
Oh, I loved that space. That's where Cindy had her Luna Garcia pottery, and then you had your studio sort of in a room adjacent to where all of the pottery was being made and displayed. And it was just such a great, welcoming environment. You got amazing people coming through there. And I remember every time Alex might get sick when he was in elementary school, he'd kind of shuffle between your pottery studio and my gallery, and he'd make some pots, and then he'd come over and show me how to sell art. And it was a great time in Venice.
What really was. Our kids grew up that after school every day they came to spend the rest of the day with us at the studio, and so they saw all kinds of eye-opening things, and like the chainsaw juggler, and so nothing impresses.
Yeah, I know. It was such a great place to grow up, and your oldest daughter Virginia just had a new addition to your family. 4 weeks ago, 5 weeks ago?
Yeah, it's about 6 weeks now. Her name is Edith.
Oh.
It's Josephine Biondelilla.
Amazing. And she is a wonderful teacher and spirit. In Austin, you have these great kids that I've seen grow up. Virginia was Alex's babysitter for many years when he was really young, and now she should call on him to babysit her kids.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, that time in Venice, it's sad because so many of the artists, when I opened my gallery there in 1991, unexpectedly, I didn't realize how many of LA's major artists still had studios there. Ed Ruscha and Laddie Dill had studios next to each other on Electric Avenue, and Ed Moses was on Palms. Larry Bell was sort of a neighbor to me in Market Street. He was always going back and forth between Taos and Venice. Robert Irwin had his studio there, and just Billy Al Bankston, Chuck Arnoldi. I had no idea that I was landing kind of in the heart of this enclave, and you were right, a block away. Robert Graham was my neighbor. Angelica Houston had her office across the street, and it was this magic time. The rents were affordable, so you could, really, afford to have, people were gravitating there. Sadly, a lot of that has changed. You and Cindy had to move out of that amazing space, and now you're working out of your amazing house in Mar Vista, which I just love. It's like this little, kind of southwestern oasis south of Venice.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we love it here. We miss those days in Venice, but it's a nice community. I just roll out of bed and go to work.
Yeah. Well, you and I had known each other because of Virginia babysitting for Alex and this whole history and our proximity. We had known each other for a long time, but when I moved to Bergamot Station in 2003, we decided to do a show together. And it was one of those rare openings where you could really feel the art literally kind of felt like it was flying off the walls. People were racing around. Is that piece still available? No, that just sold. how about this one? No, I think that's sold too. And, you know, it was a great way to start out together.
No kidding. Really. Let's recapture that.
Yeah. Yeah. A little, not quite as hustle and bustle right now. I think in the last 4 months, there have been maybe 5 people who've walked in kind of unannounced, with luckily wearing masks and so on. But I've had a few, you know, by appointment things, but most of it has been online or by appointment and with Zoom and so on. And luckily, people are bored enough staying at home that collecting art and talking about art are a welcome diversion. So. You know, things are still moving along, but it's a very different dynamic. For you, I think it's probably sort of business as usual. Does it feel that different? I mean, most of the artists say, well, no, this is kind of my normal day. I'm in the studio, self-quarantining.
That's right. Yeah, usually I look for an excuse to leave the house, you know, just to do some little errand. So I'll take something to the post office and drop it off.
Yeah.
But staying home is something I do a lot anyway. I do miss getting out and seeing shows.
Yeah.
And now I'm going to the hardware store around too, and I haven't been doing that.
Yeah.
Very often.
No, I know it's a different dynamic. And I think it's going to be one that stays with us for a period of time. But there are these silver linings. You know, if people can stay healthy and stay smart about staying healthy, you know, there's a certain rhythm that feels like a necessary and welcome slowdown. You know, it feels like people are really taking time to smell the roses per se. And, you know, I know for all the artists I'm working with, it's been a very productive time to really dive deep into what you're doing.
It really has. There's not a lot of diversions. And Cindy and I have really enjoyed our time here.
Yeah. Well, and, you know, when we tried to do the several Zoom calls with you from the studio, and you could see a lot more from the Nocturne series, but this one behind you, and we'll put some other images up on, you know, during this talk, is just it has this wonderful depth and richness to it. I can't wait to see the rest of the series, you know, come to fruition.
Good. Yeah, well, I'm working on a new one now.
Excellent. Well, Curtis, this has been great. We've gone through this several times today. Thank you for your patience.
Oh yeah.
I think we're both deserving of a cocktail about now.
Exactly. It's about that time.
Listen, have a great rest of your day and evening. Stay safe. Best to Cindy and your family. And I just love working with you, and thank you for all you do to contribute to the gallery.
Well, thanks for dropping by.
Absolutely. All right, Curtis, take care.
Okay.